you are decluttering, you are going to want to quit at some point, because as with everything, it gets worse before it gets better. So should you quit? And if yes, what should you do instead? Or if you should keep going, how can you push through that wall? Let's go. Hi guys, it's Laura and I help you live a simpler, happier, more spacious life. But on that journey to spaciousness and freedom, it is so easy to feel fed up. I feel it in every decluttering project that I do. I get to a point where I just hit that wall, I'm full of regret, and I want to throw in the towel. If you too want to bail on the whole thing, then stick with me, because we will be discussing whether or not that is the right thing to do, and sometimes it is. We'll talk about when to know it's time to quit, when to know it's time to push through and keep going. But first, I want to talk about those situations where you have kind of reached the end of your tether. You are ready to burn it all to the ground and start again. This is an in case of emergency situation when there is stuff everywhere, and regardless of whether you decide to keep going or whether you decide to quit, you just need everything put away and out of your sight. Anytime I am in that situation, here's what I do. I box everything up and I just slide that box into a corner or out of the room or in some out of the way place. I call it the box method. It definitely needs a better name. If you have a suggestion, leave it in the comments. But essentially, when you've got stuff everywhere and you just need that quick win and you don't have the energy, physical or mental, to dive in and really tackle that and go through it step by step, just throw it all in a box and leave it for a day when you do have that energy and that motivation to dedicate to it. But for now, you get the results. You get a nice clean space to walk into. Now, like I said, this is just for emergencies. This is not something that I would recommend. It's not a method that I would recommend that you do on a regular basis. It's not how you should be doing it. But for those times when you just can't, that's when the box method comes in really handy. Sometimes you just need a clean slate and to start over. Now, whether you decide to continue on your decluttering journey or to kind of call it a halt there, that's entirely up to you. But this next question will help you determine whether this is your stopping point or merely a pause. There is an exercise you can do or a question that you can ask yourself that is going to help you determine whether or not you should keep going. And all credits to Michelle B. I learned this from her. I love her channel. I'm going to link it for you. But that is to do an anti-vision exercise. Essentially what you're going to do is ask yourself, if you stopped now, if you didn't continue to declutter, in 6 months, a year from now, what would life be like? If you were to down tools today and not do any more decluttering, how would that look down the road? I think there are really only two answers to this question. The first is that things would not be okay, that you would still feel stressed out, you would still feel that your home was too cluttered, you would still be spending a lot of time cleaning, organizing, tidying, and it just would not be the ideal situation. In that case, you should continue. But if, on the other hand, you think, you know what, if I quit now, even temporarily, it doesn't have to be a permanent break, but if I stopped now, 6 months down the line, actually everything would be okay. My life is not going to dissolve into madness. My home won't become chaotically cluttered if I decide that I'm going to take a step back from this. And that is perfectly okay. Maybe you've realized that you have kind of taken it as far as you can or as far as you want to, either for now or forever. Like I said, it doesn't have to be a permanent thing, but asking yourself that question may help you realize that, you know what? You've done as much as you are willing to do right now, and you're ready to focus on other priorities. Realistically, decluttering takes up a lot of time and energy, and maybe you are realizing right now that you've got your home to a level that you're comfortable with, and it's time for you to focus on something else. It's time for you to redirect your energy to something that maybe you would get bigger results from. So really, it's a question that only you can answer. But if you stopped now, again, either temporarily or permanently, a year from now, what would life look like? Would you regret stopping? Would you have wished that you had kind of pushed through and just kept going that little bit longer? Or would you happily live with the way your home is and focus on other things that are maybe more important to you? Let's say you decide that yes, you're going to quit for now. I want to talk about some things that you can do instead of decluttering, and then afterwards I will come back and talk about those times when you've realized that yes, you do want to push through and see the job through to the bitter end. We'll talk about some ways that you can make that easier to get yourself over that hump. Okay, you've decided that, you know what? The world is not going to end if you stop decluttering. So what should you do now? The obvious answer is kind of to take a break, to stop doing it, to go focus on other things. But I also want you to actually spend time enjoying the benefits that you were decluttering for, the reason that you started decluttering. Maybe you wanted to spend less time cleaning. Maybe you wanted to spend more time with your family, just kind of enjoy a little bit more space. Maybe you wanted to create like a crafting corner for yourself or a little book nook. You wanted to spend more time doing the things that you love to do. So go ahead and do those things. You've put in the work. Now it's time to reap the rewards. No matter how far you've got, you still made progress. You still did something. You still took action, and it's time to reward yourself for that. You deserve to reward yourself for that. I don't want you to feel bad about quitting. I don't want you to feel like a failure. I don't look at people who run half marathons and think, meh, they should have run a full marathon. No, I'm standing here like, I know when you stop doing something, it's easy to feel like a failure, but you are not giving up. You have decided to focus your time and attention on something else. And that is perfectly okay. But let's talk about those times when you decide, you know what, I do actually want to push through. I want to see this thing through to the end. How can you overcome that obstacle when you've hit that wall? How can you knock that wall down and keep plowing on? The first thing I would recommend, and this is something that I did way back in the day when I started the KonMari Method. I was a few months in and I had hit that wall. I was in the middle of Komono, which is just miscellaneous stuff. It seems never ending, and that's the time when you really want to quit and walk away. What I did was I took some time off to actually get the stuff out of my home. I don't know if you are like me, but I can do a decluttering task, and really all I'm doing is separating out the stuff that I want to declutter and leaving that in a pile somewhere, or maybe in a box or a bag, intending to bring it to the charity shop. But the reality is it sits there for a few more weeks or even months. Or I go through papers and then I have a big pile of papers just waiting to be shredded. But the pile gets bigger and bigger every day. And what I've done is not really declutter anything. I've just separated things out into piles. But actually taking the time to get that stuff out of your home, or to shred all of those papers or recycle them, or whatever needs doing, means that you would be completing a task from start to finish, even if it's not like the full decluttering your entire house type task, but like with the paper clutter, actually shredding those papers, actually recycling papers, getting that job done from start to finish is going to give you that sense of completion, that sense of accomplishment, that sense that you have kind of tied up all of the loose ends. If you took them, look back at your before photos, see where you started and ask yourself, how can I wrap up this job? What is one way that I can complete something so that I get that sense of achievement? Again, it's not about wrapping up the entire job. That's going to take time, but it's about wrapping up the kind of smaller tasks and projects that are part of that overall goal. It's creating those checkpoints along the way. It is completing a level of your game until you get to like the final boss at the end of the whole thing. Also take some time to focus on stemming the flow. There is very little as demoralizing as decluttering a category. Let's stick with paper clutter as our example. You have got rid of all of those papers, you have shredded everything, recycled everything, you have organized what's left, and then catalogs, magazines, leaflets, school paperwork, etc. just comes flooding back into your house. Take some time now to stop all of that future clutter from coming into your home, so that as you're in the middle of a job, you're not subconsciously thinking, well, this is all going to be undone in a week or two. You know, you've spent some time decluttering, you have spent some time wrapping up a task and getting everything looking nice and shiny, and this is kind of like the cherry on top. This is making sure that you can maintain your results and maintain that level of items, that number of items that you currently have in your home, so that you don't have to turn around in 6 months and just start the decluttering process all over again. Stem the flow of future clutter. Be sure too that you are tackling not only very small spaces, but visible spaces. Like I said, one of the things that's going to keep you going is to get that sense of achievement. So if you focus on a smaller task, a much smaller task, you're going to get to the finish line that much quicker. You're going to get that feeling of success, which is going to spur you on and keep up the momentum. But let's face it, even if you do focus on a small decluttering task, you're not going to feel the same results. You're not going to get the same energy from that if those items are behind closed doors, or they're in a room that you don't go into on a regular basis, or they're just in an area that you don't see all the time. Instead, focus on those visible areas. Now, when I say visible, I mean it in kind of two ways. There's the visible area that you actually see when you walk into a room, like, you know, countertops and desks and tables and things like that, like really in your face stuff. But there is also the visible stuff that, yes, may be behind a closed door or in a drawer, but they're places that you go every day. For example, your sock drawer. Yes, it's in a drawer, but it's a drawer that you're in every day, I would imagine. They are categories that are the most visible to you in your daily life. So if you are struggling, if you want to stop decluttering, if you're feeling like you've hit a wall, focus on those areas that are going to get you those visible results and that aren't going to take a huge amount of time before you get your win. Like I said, your sock drawer is one, underwear is another one, your nightstand, just clearing that off, that can be a great one. Small tasks with visible results. And something that really kept me going when I was feeling incredibly discouraged on my decluttering journey was to realize that there is a finite amount of stuff in your home. It can feel never ending. It can feel like it's, you know, one step forward and 2 steps back. But when you think about it, your home is kind of like a giant container. There is a certain amount of stuff in it, and every item that you go through is one item closer to that finish line. Yes, there is a little bit of fluidity. You will still have some things coming into your home, but if you focused on stemming the flow and just stopping yourself from buying a lot of new stuff, this should be a comforting thought, knowing that there are, let's say, for example, 5,000 items in your home. That is a definite number, and you are getting closer and closer to it with each passing day. At some point in the future, and it might be the very near future, you will pick up the last item in your home and decide whether or not it deserves a place there. That is going to be such an incredible, wonderful feeling. There are very few things in life that are like that. You know, dishes always need to be cleaned, laundry always needs to be washed, floors always need to be mopped. There are so many chores and errands and things in our lives that just need to be done on this never-ending cycle. But decluttering, like decluttering your home, I don't want to say it like it's kind of a one and done thing, because there will be maintenance as you go on, but really that kind of one decluttering festival, as Marie Kondo calls it, will be done when you get to the last item. There are a finite number of things in your home, and if you just keep going, you will get to that last one. Now, if you feel that you just don't have the energy to continue decluttering. You know, the will is there, but you don't have it in you to keep going. I have another video that is full of low energy tasks that you can do, like even from the couch, even from your bed, when you are suffering from maybe illness, you're very tired, you're very run down, maybe you're suffering from chronic pain. There's still tasks that you can do that take a minimal amount of effort and energy. You can still make some progress without running yourself into the ground. I'm going to link that for you for the days when you can't take on a big decluttering project, but you still want to make some progress. And until next time then, go raibh míle maith agaibh. Agus feici mé sibh go luath. Slán!